everybody. Welcome to our interview series on harnessing the power of coaching skills in management, leadership, and human resources. I'm very excited because today I have with me Bethany Kurbis. She's the Director of Talent Management at Winrock International, which is based in Washington, D.C. Bethany has 10 years of experience in talent management with a Master's of Arts in Human Resource Management. As a talent management professional, Bethany is committed to developing employee skills, knowledge, and abilities to excel in their work for the purpose of achieving organizational strategic goals and executing the organization's vision and mission. In her current role, Bethany designs and implements talent management and development initiatives to improve employee performance, engagement, retention, and team effectiveness through competency modeling, instructional design, training, coaching, and facilitation. Having worked in Sudan, the Republic of South Sudan, and North Iraq, she's very comfortable working with complex and diverse environments and is a skilled collaborator within a team. As a leader, Bethany quickly cultivates trust and accountability by prioritizing communication, setting clear expectations, providing strengths-based feedback, and elevating direct reports and team members to reach their full potential. She's also a certified coach through IICT. Welcome, Bethany.
Thank you. Really happy to be here today.
Yeah, it's great to reconnect.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to start off by asking, what initially opened your eyes to coaching?
Yeah. So as you said through the bio, I worked in Sudan. And so I was in South Sudan, now the Republic of South Sudan. And I was doing community conflict resolution training. It was a really tense time. People were returning to their homes in Sudan after being in refugee camps. And there was just a lot of conflict coming up, particularly in youth and children. And so I was doing these conflict resolution trainings and started to realize that there was kind of motivation within each person, and there was insight within each person on how they can handle conflict. And I realized that kind of telling and training was one approach, but that another approach of them trying to identify solutions on their own and self-generate solutions on their own was way more effective. And so we started adjusting our trainings to do that. And I learned later that that's a lot of coaching, a lot of the principles of coaching. And then shifting up to North Sudan, I was actually embedded within their head office in Khartoum with the organization that I was with. And we just had a lot of issues with conflicts within the teams. And similarly, I took some of the learning from South Sudan and started to ask questions, sit with people and help them create the space to identify solutions for the conflicts on their own. And just, again, realize that that was a lot of coaching. So I realized that those kinds of activities were what I wanted to get in touch with as much as possible within my career. And that led me to HR. I realized and learned through a process of research and exploring that human resources as an industry allows you to sit in an office and get in touch with those types of skills frequently. Not in every role in HR, but I really started to pursue a career through which I could get into those types of skills on a daily basis. And I'm happy to say I've been able to do that since then. So that was kind of the beginning of my search for coaching as a part of my career.
Nice, thank you. And how do you see the specific coaching skills empowering HR leaders?
Yeah, so, with human resource professionals, part of the reason that they are there is to make sure things get done through the people who are sitting in the seats, sitting in the roles that they're in. And so oftentimes people are doing their jobs and things maybe don't go the way everyone wants them to go. Someone might be struggling in their performance. They might be struggling with a relationship. There might be tension between people, managers, team members. And so oftentimes the person in that situation, if they're having a tough time, whatever the case may be, they're not maybe seeing the full picture. And so coaching skills, if you use coaching skills in all these different arenas of human resources, it is a faster track and a more effective track to helping people see things from a different perspective, maybe see things from maybe a colleague's perspective, but I think even more importantly, start to gain their own self-awareness of their own part of whatever problem it is. And so, really making sure that we're using coaching skills as HR professionals can make sure that you're opening people's eyes to, again, different perspectives, but building their own self-awareness to identify what they can control. So there's probably a lot they can't control, but what can they do? What ideas or solutions can they start to tap into by building their own self-awareness and taking ownership and responsibility for whatever's happening? Sometimes that works, but then human resources also has to make the call on whether this person is in the right seat for the long haul, right? So sometimes we have to make tough decisions, but using coaching skills to help drive those decisions, to understand what is this person's motivation, what are they really good at, what really drives them, and is this role or this organization the best fit for them? And coaching skills can help that person get there before you as an HR professional have to make the tough decision. So there's incredible ways to use coaching skills through myriad avenues of HR work. So
nice. Yeah, it's like the employee gets to take their power back in a sense through the skills.
Exactly. And oftentimes, depending on what's happening, employees feel very powerless. We have a lot of power dynamics in an organization. Hierarchy is absolutely real. I haven't worked at an organization yet where hierarchy isn't a big part of the daily experience. And so, that is something that we can explore as far as what can they control within this hierarchy and where is their power within this power dynamic and power structure. And we don't necessarily use those terms all the time. It's a little heavy-handed, but as a coach, we know we can explore some of their own agency and their own autonomy within the situation they're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And this brings to mind emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Do you feel there's a connection with the coaching skills and helping facilitate emotional intelligence within an employee?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where I've worked with a lot of different people, probably on the spectrum of emotional intelligence. And recently, actually, I was in Thailand with my organization, and there was a lot of team tension. And it came down to one person in particular in the team having very little emotional intelligence. And so we had a team coaching, couple of days of team coaching where we really focused in on the team dynamics and what can we do to change the dynamics and the patterns, and really asking the team to generate these ideas. And yes, I absolutely think so. Number one, we helped this individual who was really struggling and impacting the team in kind of significant ways. She built some self-awareness, gained some self-awareness, and then started to put herself in others' shoes, which starts to lead into that emotional intelligence. But it took a lot to get there, and I'm really proud of how she has started to adjust her own behavior in the way that she's showing up and interacting with her team members every day. But it's definitely a journey. So I was actually there in November, came back 6 months later, and she's made a lot of progress, and the team is making a lot of progress, and it's a continual process of her learning a little bit more about what others' feelings and emotions and experiences are, and it's been fascinating. So I absolutely think there's a connection there.
Yeah, and I can only imagine that impacts longevity with the company, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the decision at that point was, again, can this person be a part of this team? Because we were at risk to lose other people, right? It was a situation where we're going to lose people because they were really upset and having a really difficult time. And so we have to make these really tough calls in HR. We want to keep the people who are able to do their job, executing, again, like we talked about in the bio, executing what they need to, because we're all trying to accomplish something here. And so sometimes it gets really tricky when you're dealing with dynamics and you're at risk to see someone leave because of a team situation, and what's the call there. So the ideal is to work on the areas that are really the pain points and see if we can move the needle. And we've been able to do that in some instances. And I think, and truly, coaching skills have helped make that possible. I think if we were just drawing really bright lines and communicating differently with people, we're not even giving people a chance to try to learn or adjust. And so coaching skills gives them that chance to learn something and make those adjustments. And I'm seeing real progress. And again, this is actually really hot off the presses. I was just there, and it's been amazing to see the progress in the last 6 months now.
Yeah, wonderful. And how about how has coaching empowered you professionally?
Yeah, it has, as I've learned all of the different coaching, skills and approaches and frameworks, um, I have been personally transformed by these ideas, right? So I am on the Enneagram. I'm a type 5, which means that I'm going to want to like dig deep on and learn everything there is to know. And I wanted to learn everything there is I can learn about coaching because I again, going back to those early days, I can see how effective it is, how important it is. But what I didn't necessarily anticipate is how much I would personally change, how much transformation would happen in me as I learned what I wanted to learn for my career. And so I have learned so much. And so what's interesting is that because coaching is just a part of my life now, the way I show up every day in the office or with whatever project I'm working on, whether it's in my full-time job or my side job with coaching, I show up differently every day. And I think that the individuals that I'm working with who are making decisions on what my role in the organization should be, or whether they want to take me on as a consultant for a certain project or for coaching, that I'm open and I'm using kind of the skills that I've learned for myself, right? So I'm kind of self-coaching as I'm walking into these situations to make sure that I'm aligning with my own values before I even walk in the door. And so anyway, so then I think that leads into, as a professional, I've seen my career kind of exponentially take off as I have gotten more clear about what I want in my career, what I need. So again, using these frameworks and these tools that I've learned through coaching, that has helped me get clear about what I want in my career. And then I have found that I'm able to communicate that with leaders. Leaders help me make those decisions, or the leaders make those decisions truly, to bring me in a certain capacity. And then that's paved the way for me to have the most fulfilling career I could have ever dreamed of. So it has opened a lot of doors for me, and it's continued to show a lot of value within organizations, which I'm thrilled and very grateful for. So.
Nice. Yeah. And do you have any advice for other professionals who are wishing to really fold the coaching skills and the processes into their own HR or leadership work?
Yeah. I think being really clear about how coaching can be utilized will help a lot. And so people often think about coaching happening in a discrete moment, right? So there's a coaching conversation that it happens for 30 minutes or 1 hour, and then you stop coaching. Which, as I've been just describing, I think coaching it can be such a present tool to integrate, not to belabor that point with our IICT, but to truly integrate coaching into everything we do as HR professionals. Because again, we are there to make sure that the right people are in the right seats, that they're fully empowered to do what they are capable of doing, and making sure that they're learning and growing in the way that they need to reach their full potential as an individual and within the organization. So everything I just described, coaching helps every single step of that process of attracting the right people. So making sure we're getting really clear about who are they, what are their motivations, what do they want to do. Retaining them, making sure we're tapping into that core motivation that they have, that intrinsic motivation. And then making sure that we're asking them what's next, what else, and we're exploring what their long-term goals are, so that we are, if we can, connecting them into the right places in the organization for a long-term, satisfying, fulfilling career. And so therefore, the organization gets what they want, which is a deeply committed, fulfilled, empowered employee who is accomplishing the work that they need to for the organization. And the employee gets all of the benefits of feeling that they are empowered, enabled, and cared for, and really valued, because we're asking these questions about who they are as a whole person, and making sure we're trying to connect them in the best way we can as an organization. So coaching skills help with every single piece of that. And I think communicating that to HR leadership, first of all, is going to be really important if an HR leader is not as familiar with how coaching can be integrated into HR work. But also communicating that to organizational leaders, right? So being able to demonstrate how coaching shows up as an HR professional, so that the leaders within the organization also know and value the skill set that you're bringing in. And I think that's been a great lesson more recently for me, is being open with our managers and leaders across the organization, saying, this is something that's showing up every day for me. If you want focused coaching, we can also do that. But this is a practice that I bring into every single conversation that I have every day of my work. So I think communicating really clearly about what coaching looks like within HR can really make a positive impact, and it will mean that you are utilizing those skills, because hopefully the leaders will give you a platform to utilize those skills.
Yeah, that is such a good point, especially because, well, you can just look at like coaching is it can be a program and a
Yeah,
session that
yeah,
develops the employees.
yeah,
And it can be that skill set that in that moment, to ask
yeah,
the right questions, see a
yeah,
bigger picture, and how to step into possibility and out
yeah.
of the problem. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
All right. And any advice for HR managers that are new to coaching? It can feel kind of
Yeah.
intimidating, just
Yeah.
getting your feet wet.
That's an interesting question. Yeah, I mean, I guess, typical five answer, maybe Enneagram type 5 answer.
Mhm.
It's just, you just keep learning, keep exploring. There's a lot out there. And I think it's an interesting moment, here in mid 2019 to talk about coaching, because there's a bit of a moment. We've got this really popular, I mean, there's been old coaches,
Mhm.
coaches that have been around for a while, like Tony Robbins, right? He's like prolific and he's been around forever and is extremely established. But there's this new, Jay Shetty, who was on Ellen, and there's kind of this pop up. There's a bit of a moment happening with coaching. And as we know, coaching can show up really differently in different capacities. Coaching has been a part of HR industries for decades, so that's not necessarily new. But I think that there's a lot of different interpretations of the word coaching. People are going to filter it through what they're seeing on social media, or whatever moment they had exposure to it. So I would say learn as much as you can, figure out what a coaching approach and what a coaching strategy looks like within your organization, because I think it would be different if you're in a really highly structured corporate environment. Maybe some structure around the coaching is going to be something that resonates with your audience, resonates with your leadership. I work for a nonprofit right now, and they really value my ability to quickly get on a call with someone when there's a lot happening globally, and talk through something really fast. And so I think being able to match what your organization needs and learning how to communicate how coaching can show up in that organization will just help everybody, including yourself, make sure that you're using coaching in the way that's going to resonate the best for that organization. Yeah.
Absolutely. Great points. Thank you so much. Anything else you want to share with our viewers?
No, I think that's everything that I can think of based on the question. So yeah.
Well, Bethany, thank you so much for your
Yeah.
time and your wisdom. I love, I'm going to do that over
Yeah.
the ending. Bethany, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your experience. You have such a diverse and deep background, so we appreciate you sharing.
I'm so thrilled to be able to do it. Thanks so much for asking me.